The other bone type that we've talked about, if we look at it more at a histological level, the spongy bone, there's basically, I think this is a great way to talk about it, it's a lattice of bone slivers. These bone slivers are often referred to as spicules, and it's a lattice of these spicules and these plates of bone. And so it's plates of bone that we call trabeculae, and they're all covered with endosteum. So you've got the trabeculae here and in here, and then some of the slivers that come off as well. That's what spongy bone is, and it gives it this sponge-like appearance, which is why it's called spongy bone, and the space in between is filled with bone marrow, usually red bone marrow. The matrix in the trabeculae are arranged in lamellae, just like you see in compact bone. So if you take a cross-section of the trabeculae or the plates and you look at it, you're going to get the lamellae, again, those concentric rings of matrix. But there are fewer osteons in spongy bone, and there's no central canal, so that's really important. There doesn't need to be a central canal in spongy bone because you have all of this space here that is filled with red bone marrow in a lot of cases, and so the nutrients can easily reach the osteocytes as opposed to compact bone. So in this case, all the osteocytes are close to the bone marrow. The benefit of spongy bone is it's going to provide the strength because of the concentric lamellae, but it has less weight than the compact bone because it's not as dense. It's got that space in between it. And that's really important when we're talking about things like skull. A good example is your skull. If you had all compact bone in your skull, then your skull would be much heavier because it would be more dense. And it would be kind of a pain if we had to carry compact bone around in our skull because it would be very heavy. So this is a benefit of spongy bone, is that it's going to give us that strength without all of the weight. As I mentioned on a previous slide, the trabeculae of spongy bone are going to form in a way that they're going to take on where the most stress is coming from, physical stress, where the weight is bearing down. So these trabeculae develop along a bone's lines of stress, and that's what these purple and red lines are indicating here in this image. This is where the majority of the stress is coming down on the bone, and so that is where the greatest amount of spongy bone has formed.